champion will take this WCS championship. There is nothing left for Stu. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to crown our champion here in Austin, Texas for the World Championship Series in StarCraft 2. We had 80 players show up, but how many were able to get here? Just 2. This is it. This is the finale. I am your host, Nathaniel, joined on the desk for the finals by Fear Dragon and Pig. And what a story this weekend has been. So many sweeping leads, so many dominant performances by those who have moved forward, but no performance more dominant, more surprising than Serral and MaNa, 2 players coming from what we expected and the last possible person we would have expected. Fear Dragon.
They are absolute opposites in the way that they made their way here to these finals. Like you said, Serral was the one that everyone said months ago, yeah, you know what, he's going to be the one that probably dominates Austin. He's going to dominate the entire WCS circuit like he Neeb did last year. And then MaNa is this guy who you kind of just don't even mention, I feel like, when you talk about players who would win a tournament. But he is here through sheer momentum, through hard work and emotion. It's so awesome to see these 2 super contrasting players.
Yeah, he's managed to kind of just nail everything down, bring it together in the heat of the moment. He had to play through, you know, these open bracket stages. He's had to play a lot more games, and he's had to beat the best players as well. He took down Neeb 3-0. He took down Snoot 3-0. He took down Special 3-1. MaNa's story is so insane, and there's part of my brain that says, you know, he's still a huge underdog. Serral's another beast, but I look at those score lines, and there's another part of me that's like, no. MaNa does have momentum. He's got so much behind him here. It's been the matchup he struggled with historically. But for me, the story is really what can MaNa pull together in this moment. From the way he was interviewing on the stage, he doesn't look like there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He feels like he's just going along with the ride. He's building up that confidence. So for me, my eyes are on MaNa. I want to see what he brings to this finals.
Yeah, he's done a lot of very interesting, different builds, playing around with the aggression, and we saw finally in the series against Special, him take it to the late game and handle the chaos well. That's a scenario where Serral seems to really thrive, is being all over the map, that heavy multitasking. Does MaNa have the speed to match Serral, or is he going to have to try and end these maps as early as possible, Fear Dragon?
I mean, I think we'd be lying if we said that MaNa's series looked like he played absolutely perfectly versus Special. There were a lot of mistakes, but it was the hecticness, it was the craziness where he just made the game also so absurdly crazy that even Special couldn't keep up. And even Special was doing things like maybe being a little bit slow on getting started on the next round upgrades and everything. So if he can bring Serral to the absolute brink, the absolute limit of his potential, then I think MaNa can do it. And it's all just riding off of momentum right now.
He's kind of got to drag him down in the dirt, right? That's what MaNa's goal has got to be. That's how he's won these series. Yeah, the scoreline's like 3-0 versus Snoot. That wasn't like him just like dominating those. Same against Neeb. It was like messy, down and dirty, scrappy games. That's where MaNa's kind of got to bring Serral down to his sort of gameplay. If these are like stock standard openings and it's like this, you know, gameplay which Serral's perfected through thousands of practice hours, no. I think, you know, if Serral finds a way to get in his comfort zone, yes, he could slap some games down. It could look quite one-sided, but so far, MaNa has showed series after series an ability to drag his opponent in the mud and just mess things up, and that's where he loves it.
It's been a real treat to see these players fight their way here to the grand finals of the World Championship Series. Let's take another look at both players' road to the finals.
It feels great to be in the finals. This is exactly what I've been training for. I was a bit worried this series. I really felt like I could have lost all of the games pretty much. They were really open games, so I'm really happy I made it.
It's been such a long time since I was in the final. It feels good to be back there. I hope I can do my best to take it home, but playing against Serral is going to be very difficult. Please have mercy. I've been playing so long. Have mercy, man.
I'm very glad you got this far, but the trophy is mine.
This is the World Championship Series, and Serral wants that trophy. Last year, all eyes were on Neeb as he secured 3 WCS Circuit titles, but he is out of the picture. Serral picked up victory in Leipzig and is looking for it in a second tournament in a row here at Austin. I think it goes without saying, we all believe he has what it takes. He comes in as the huge favorite. Serral has really, I think, surprised us and wowed the world in how consistent he's been, how much we've talked him up, and how he's really delivered on those performances, Fear Dragon.
I mean, he's done phenomenal this event as well as, of course, at WCS Leipzig. And even versus MaNa in the past, I mean, he's got a 2-19, or I should say 19-2 in favor of Serral in game score in all tournament games in the past. So MaNa is kind of battling a little bit uphill here. And I mean, even if you just look at the route that Serral took, it was this reign of terror where we were like, wow, someone took a game off of Serral. MaNa has not had that. He's dropped games to Optimus, Euthermal. He lost entirely 2-0 to Soul, 2-1 to True. But it's just so different in how they are kind of in this tournament.
All right, thank you very much. It is time to introduce your grand finalists on the main stage. Let's get into it.
It is time. 3 days ago, we started with 80 players from all around the world, and now we are down to just 2. Austin, are you ready to crown a champion? Give it up for your grand finalists. It is Serral and MaNa.
Ladies and gentlemen, your grand finalists, MaNa and Serral. MaNa has been around in StarCraft 2 for so long. No stranger to the big stage. No stranger to taking home trophies. But it's been a little while, and Serral has been on a roll, considered the best player in foreign StarCraft all year long, winning in Leipzig, making phenomenal results elsewhere, winning Challenger, and now, of course, making it to the finals here in Austin. What an unexpected turn of events that MaNa would be the one to step up to the plate and try to stop this monster.
This might be what's needed, you know, a player who comes in with a very fresh perspective. He's got that experience on the stage. He's been there before, but he definitely doesn't take it for granted. You said it, it's been a while. He's a hero returning to his former glory, you know, and if he can get up there and find a way to disrupt Serral and really just bring the game into that weird place, and, you know, I'd love to see some more photon cannons like this early on against Snoot. I think that's the sort of stuff that's just going to be a great way to, you know, really throw Serral off his game. It's an exciting match for sure, and I'm just really focused on how MaNa thinks about this series, because it's a problem to solve, you know? Serral is the Rubik's Cube right now, and he's got to kind of fiddle out a pattern, a way to figure out how to undo Serral's just mastery of StarCraft right now.
It's untreaded ground, though, right now. Nobody has really been able to unravel Serral. You kind of figure out, okay, cool, I got one side of the Rubik's Cube, guys, and the rest I kind of give up on. So it's a hard task, but if anyone's up to it, I mean, MaNa is the one that has made his way all to the grand finals. It's got to be him.
He's really been playing very strategically in his matches, going for, as you have brought up, of course, those strange odd builds versus Snoot. And I think he also made a couple of interesting moves with the way that he opened up versus Special as well. But it's time to find out if MaNa can unravel the puzzle that is Serral. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your WCS Grand Finals.
Thank you, Nathanius and the boys. This is it. We've had a brutal weekend of StarCraft 2. A lot of people have come and gone, and in the end, it's Serral, the guy we all knew would be here, and the man that's supposed to stand up to him, MaNa. Can he do it?
He's spawning on the left top side of Asset Plant. Austin, make some noise for your only Protoss. It's MaNa.
And his opponent, the beast from Finland, the Red Zerg, it's Serral! Focused, determined. Both these guys worked really hard. MaNa, the really cool story, someone who's been around the game for so long, been winning championships, but it's been since 2015, Roddy. He has just now gotten back here. He's put in the work, he's put in the time, and now he's staying up against Serral.
Yeah, a fun little fact is that when MaNa made it to his first Grand Finals ever, that was all the way back in 2010 at a DreamHack Winter back then. He also had a Finnish opponent in the final back then, and that's going to be a name that a lot of you guys haven't heard for a long time, but that was Nama, our Finnish Terran player. That's 8 years ago. How freaking impressive is it that MaNa is here once again? Now, Inkatro, I know that you are the numbers man here. You crunched the numbers.
All of them.
And I'm going to give you a couple of numbers.
Okay.
So I've been taking a little look at Serral. We all know that he's been dominating this event. He is 13-1 in maps, only dropped a single map in the semifinals. But I took a look at his versus Protoss history this year. I was like, we all know that Serral doesn't lose very often. But how often does he truly lose? So this year, in 2018, Serral has played 20 official series against Protoss. His record is 19-1.
Not bad.
No, that's pretty good. He lost one series against Classic, a famous semi-final at the Intox 3 Masters Katowice. But the beauty of Serral is that he then plays Classic 3 weeks later for a match that was worth $20,000. And that time he took him down 3-1. The last time that Serral lost was a non-Korean Protoss. We have to go back to Barcelona, the WESG qualifiers, which was in 2017 October. Lost against Showtime, but guess who ended up winning that tournament?
Don't say Serral.
Serral.
Okay. So you would say he loses, kind of learns from it, and comes back stronger, and that's the sign of a true champion. Now, MaNa's going to do a little bit of some poking and diving here with this probe, get the information that he can, try to delay what he can as well. Sees this drone going for the third. That's pretty standard stuff. With only the 2 lanes, the pylon can be a bit of a nuisance. In fact, Serral's going to go ahead and say, sure, I'll take the third elsewhere.
Of course, we saw Serral in the finals of WCS Leipzig as well, versus that other strong European Protoss, which was Showtime. And the first few games, it was just dominance by Serral. So many beautiful plays. That was, of course, a different map pool, and Showtime is a different player than MaNa is. And Serral did drop a couple of maps in the end when he started to get a little more adventurous. He started to cheese a little bit, lost a couple games, and then he was like, let's go back to what I'm best at, and that's playing strong defensive StarCraft, and that's when he took down that championship.
Well, what I like about this tournament already so far, by the way, is beyond this, we're going to talk about MaNa as one of the top European Protosses again. This is something that we have been doing for years, but for the last couple years, MaNa's kind of slipped away from that. There's been some other focus. Remaining at the top is very difficult, of course, but yet here he is again. And I love what Smix talked about on the stage, beating Special, beating a late, just getting here this way, beating Neve, excuse me. Yep. Some of the hardest players in this tournament, MaNa's had to cut through them.
And even, I said it before, it started in the very first group stage already. For a lot of these pros, the first group stage is a walk in the park. That's a warm-up session. Well, MaNa was in a group with Nemchar and Optimus, 2 very strong players. Yeah. There is a chance where you can go out there. I mean, those are 2 very strong top European players, but MaNa has survived all of it. but it's safe to say that this is the ultimate final boss, as we are looking at Serral as one of his overlords is taking a little bit of damage from this Phoenix. It's a very standard game so far. Serral is just expanding. MaNa's trying to find some openings. So far, the only thing he found was larvae and a drone.
Well, one kind of weird thing that's happening here, that's a full wall in at the front for the Protoss base, and Serral does see this. No, it's not a full wall, excuse me, there's that adept right there. But behind it, we have a Robo, Warp Prism, and additional gateways going down. We've seen MaNa do this style, and we know that he doesn't necessarily have to be an all-in, but Roddy, you were talking about this earlier when he was playing his PvZ. Sometimes you can go from 6 to 8 gates, and it does become that all-in, and that could be one of the ways you catch Serral off guard, or if Serral doesn't read effectively, that this is actually just a way to get to a third base. So a little bit of a fork in the road right here, and we're gonna have to see a read from Serral.
What is really cool is that people often ask, of course, why? What makes Serral so good? Why is he so special? One of the coolest things I think he does in this matchup is often with those Zerglings. You see on the minimap, he has a couple of links, and with just those few links, he spreads them out in a little bit of a line. He's like, you think you can get anything to the other side of the map? These are just a couple links, but he provides so much map vision for himself, where often other players just have a couple links running around trying to get a probe. It seems in general that Serral's always aware of everything that's going on. I don't think he necessarily knows about that prism that's already morphing a couple of Archons on the other side of the map, but he is producing those defensive roaches. He's on 57 drones, by the way. That's a few more than you normally see, but I have a hard time believing that he's going to take too much damage here.
Yep, and that Warp Prism is going to make its way over here. Now, with just the roaches and their own speed upgrade coming in, they aren't the best answer for the Archons. They can kind of kite backwards. You got to keep your eye on the health of that Warp Prism, because if the Queens can get it down low enough, then this harass will cease.
Well, Archon's doing a little bit of damage to these roaches. They got 2 drones. The drones were actually blocked by the roaches before.
Kevin,
Yep.
Serral's not stopping. He's still
making...
producing more roaches, and it's getting past the defensive point in time. We saw him do this in a ZVT, but he might just clamp down on that third and go for the win.
There is a second robotics facility, which is kind of what you want, right? If you're MaNa, what do you want against mass roach? Well, lots of immortals, but it's really important that you identify very quickly that this is not just a couple of safety roaches, that this is indeed Serral going ham on the roach count. There are no upgrades other than roach speed. MaNa needs shield batteries, sentries, and immortals. Those are the 3 things right now that he needs.
And he needs to make this read right now. He's still producing probes 3 at a time. He's got to stop doing that as well. There is the double immortal. He sees the attack coming, and he knows. He knows this is a committed attack.
He wipes in Zealots, though. That's, I don't think, I mean, Zealots can be useful, of course, against Immortals, but I think you really need shield batteries, Jeff. If you don't have any shield batteries here, you look at the army supply. Now we're seeing an extra shield battery being wiped in, but that is 100 supply of Roach, and that army of MaNa doesn't look super impressive yet.
No, and Serral's going to jump on top of this. He already poked it to the top of the ramp. So Ravage coming in the flank here. Warp Prism going to try to micro as best it can. Second shield battery is only at half health. 1 Archon at very low health gets picked up, pulled behind. Nicely done. Shields are going to go ahead and get clamped down, but there's just not enough DPS here. The Immortals aren't backed up by anything. The Sentries are gone. The Zealots are gone. And 144 supply and climbing versus MaNa's plummeting supply. The third base is depowered. This is not looking good.
Nope, there is nothing left here for MaNa. The Immortals have gone down. The Oracle's got picked off. He only saved 2 units. Now the Oracle's going to push out a little bit of damage. But look at Serral's supply. It's still close to 100. He gets that Nexus. And there's a good chance that he's going to try to straight up win the game.
Yeah, you got to be back if there's any hope of this continuing. He's going to try and do what he can. But even then, the force fields don't grab much here. They're going to get destroyed immediately by the Corrosive Files. The Immortals kind of rethinking their life, I think, for a second here. He's going to get pulled back behind the wall.
But that means that the Sentries are going to go down as well. The Immortals have been saved by that Warp Prism, but that is the only thing that MaNa pretty much has. That means he's going to lose his Cybernetic score. He's going to end up losing one of his Pylons. It's just those Immortals. The force fields are good at this point, but that's all that MaNa has. And Serral is droning up behind this.
Exactly.
He's like, okay, this was more than enough, actually. I'm fine. Let's go home. You want to play the game from here? Be my guest.
And he's taking a 4th base, and not to, again, take everything that's... Well, you know what? I'm going to do it. Serral, every decision he makes is the right one. He's going to come back over here and say, okay, you can only juggle so much. He'll try to buy some time there. But behind this, he wasn't reinforcing with more roaches, right? And then all of a sudden, 6 Immortals and a Warp Prism could kind of potentially chew through that, maybe some kind of come back there. But with Hydras, it's a whole new issue. You can juggle back the Immortals, and that will get them some more DPS, some more life. But if the Hydras get on top of that Warp Prism, if they can get a concave, there's just not much you can do. And then all of a sudden you do need those Zealots, but building them is really hard to afford with your third dead like that.
Yep, and of course in Legacy of the Void, your main base is going to start running a little dry 9 minutes into the game, so that's why you need those extra bases. Serral has already been taking those, as MaNa is going to try to pick up a couple of these Crypto ones. Has to be very careful here.
Beautiful micro so far, though, and this kind of little thing here is nice. I have to wonder if Serral's not showing the Hydras, though, kind of on purpose, right? He might be saying, oh, no, never mind, here they come. They're going to kind of try to go over here and push back this Warp Prism. A lot of Hydras. They don't have the upgrades just yet, though, so the danger on creep would be just if MaNa gets a little bit bad.
That's a lot of roaches as well. Is MaNa going to wipe in a couple of Zealots? Those Zealots will obviously not achieve much against 22 roaches and 12 Hydras.
No.
There is even a Lurker then on the way already.
And that tech is going to be difficult. Now, that being said, MaNa has Immortals, and that is kind of the composition you want to face what he is facing. There's still a lot of roaches on the field, so my heart is bleeding here for MaNa, but he's got the army comp to maybe do something about it. Now, losing this third another time would be devastating.
Yep, and I think it's going to happen as these roaches are just pulling MaNa out of position. Serral is going to get a very easy cancel on this Nexus, and like I said before, these bases of MaNa are starting to run out. Does he have the right units to take on a Lurker army? Yes. Does he have the right numbers? No.
No, he doesn't have the money. He's going to immediately make that Nexus behind
this. He may as well go for it, actually. He's going to try to maybe win.
He's going to try to push here. A lot of roaches did die on that left side, but they were replaced by a Hydra composition here, as we can see. It's just down to just 13 roaches and a lot of Hydras. And this is the just beautiful Serral play. He's going to counterattack. He says, you can't afford to keep this third. You need everybody over here attacking me if you want to have any hope of success, but I'm going to counterattack all day long.
The Lynx will successfully get another cancel on this Nexus. I think MaNa should just go for it. Like, this is his best chance. It's obviously not likely going up a ramp, going into Hydras, going into Ravagers, Corrosive Bile being dropped immediately, connecting with a lot of these Immortals.
Bloody fight here, though. He does connect with some of those Corrosive Biles. And all of a sudden, MaNa's like, I thought I was going to be the aggressor, but here comes Serral. He's going to push forward, not connecting with those shots. Good juggling here from MaNa. But as Roddy said, it's a bit of a numbers game. It's just an 80 supply advantage for Serral, just getting kind of casually getting floated there. And a lot of that is an economy, but even an army's up there as well. 3 rolls back at home. Now MaNa's kind of lost steam, by the way.
How does he even find openings? There's an army on the right, there's an army on the left, and a couple of Lynx still pick up 9 probes. And that, for you, is Serral in a nutshell.
Now, MaNa is getting stormed, so it has to tell me that he's going to kind of go back to plan C-3 or something like that. It's definitely not what he was leaning into, but this is where we're at. And Storm can be nice here. My concern is the game's developed. We're seeing Serral push to a 5th base, whereas MaNa's remaking his 3rd. And as Roddy said, the main natural drying up, so it's not even really a 3rd. It's about to become your 1 mining base.
MaNa does have a powerful army. I mean, you look at his army, you're like, all right, if Serral moves forward a little too far, Immortals can absolutely rip through all these roaches. Lurkers are sieging up. A couple of these Zealots are going to fall very quickly. MaNa's not in a good position to take this fight at first, as he's at the bottom of this ramp, loses the Prism as well.
That'll happen. And again, the counterattack. Such a beautiful play from Serral. He's going to go in here, killing the long-distance mining probes, and any kind of Zealots that are warped in here as well are not the right answer. Do have a little bit of a pause in the action, but yeah, that face kind of says it all. It's like we can go ahead and pause here, but I'm in trouble.
Obviously, in the grand finals, you never want to give up as long as you have an army. You want to do your best, but MaNa knows that the writing is on the wall for this one. He has very little to work with, and Serral knows that all he has to do is make sure that he doesn't get force fielded in and only fights with 1/3 of his army, because I even think half of his army could very well be enough. Even though the Immortal count is high, he just picked off a couple of them. Economically, Serral in a fantastic position. A beautiful game by Serral. He just found the opening very early on with all of his roaches, and from that point on, MaNa had to make almost the impossible happen.
It's amazing to watch him do the little things as well, like these counterattacks with the Lings that you were pointing out earlier, and then also the roaches here. They're not just A-moved and they're like hitting a gas. They're actually being controlled. They're targeting down the probes, their whole positioning where necessary. It's very reminiscent of kind of Stefano back in his heyday. One of the things that kind of marked him as one of the absolute best foreigners, and more specifically Zergs, was every time he attacked with roaches in particular, you kind of saw it wasn't just oh, I have more than you, I'm going to A-move. They were doing all the right little things. And that is something that Serral does constantly with these counterattacks. They're doing as much damage as they possibly can.
Yep. Surprising opening as well from Serral. To see Serral open up with that many roaches in that first game on a map like Acid Plan, that's a little bit of a risky build, because you said it, if MaNa would have identified it just a tiny bit quicker, you stop producing 3 probes at a time.
Right.
You get 3-4 batteries, and above all, you get the sentries. Even if your force fields get taken care of Ravagers, you're buying time, and time is on your side at that point, because all you want is to get that Immortal count up, and then MaNa could have potentially defended a lot better. And if you defend and you keep your Nexus alive, well, then the game is yours.
Well, we're trying to fix this little issue here, guys. It's actually kind of incredible, too, not to give too much voice to this, but one of the things of being a championship caliber player is you have to remain calm in these kind of scenarios, too. Like, it's very easy for a StarCraft player to be like, oh, I don't want anything to disrupt my flow, but these kind of things happen. So these guys got to sit here, kind of keep the voices out of their head, make sure they're focused, remember what they were doing, and then dive right back into that game, fighting for $20,000. That beautiful trophy right there. And a ticket for, well, anybody but Serral, because he's already got the ticket, but potentially a ticket to the WCS Grand Finals, which, by the way, they pay you to go to that as well.
Yeah, that's extra money down the road. As it seems like this game has continued, a couple of roaches have run into the main base. Serral is just getting everything at home. He's going Hive, he's going Spire, just to solidify things. I mean, getting 11, 12 probes, even with his little roach run by. He's got Lurkers. MaNa going up a ramp against Lurkers is in general not what you want to do, but the Lurkers will not siege up, actually, so he does land a good storm, but there is a flank coming in from the right side.
It's a little bit more okay when they're unburrowed like that, but it's just too much stuff. Serral is going to push forward here. The roaches finally do get cleaned up inside the main, but even going for high ground here, Serral mastering a 100 supply advantage, killing any units that can't be afforded. MaNa is getting destroyed at the top of this ramp, and 3 Immortals going to push back for a second. I don't know how long Serral's going to kind of allow this to go. Even the Phoenix is trying to contribute, but it's just not enough.
And these Immortals is all that is left for MaNa. He knows it as well. Wipes in a couple Zealots, but that's it. GG. Serral takes game number 1 on Acid Plan on the back of a very aggressive opening by him, though. Yes, it was 3 bases. Yes, he had 50+ drones, but he was still very committed to that first big roach attack that he made. And if MaNa would have identified it faster, we said it, Immortals, shield batteries, sentries, even a Desperation Void Ray. I mean, he did open up with the Stargate. We've seen games where the Desperation Void Ray puts in some serious work because nothing shoots up of that Roach Ravager army.
Just identifying it earlier, right? Like we saw the mass Roach strategy against Hero Marine. That's a completely different matchup, of course, but it's the same map. So something about Serral says on this map, a lot of roaches hitting you fast and early can do a lot of damage. And I feel like it just comes down to, like you said, identifying it. Because we already had 2 Immortals coming out at a time, but MaNa just did not see it coming early enough. So 1-0 advantage for Serral. This is a best of 7. It's a different animal. So we cannot have a 3-0 or a 3-1 here unless something really weird happens. But you got to be kind of happy with what MaNa did as well, because again, on paper, Serral's so good, and I like the analysis we got at the table too, where they were talking about MaNa's kind of a sloppy player, gets a little bit ugly, drag him down to your level. That's the kind of talk of, you know, an underdog for sure. But MaNa was right there. He had a couple of good choices, a couple of good attacks. Did okay, I guess, which is kind of weird to say in the grand final, but it was he was almost there.
I'm wondering about one thing. I wonder if that was Serral's plan all along, an Acid Plant, or if it had to do with that probe, dropping that pylon in the beginning of the game on that location where Serral was supposed to expand, you know, at 6 o'clock sort of, on the south side far away from MaNa. But then MaNa blocked it, and Serral's like, all right, I'll take the forward hatch. And
I go roaches from here.
Yeah, forward hatches are pretty good in being aggressive, so maybe MaNa poked the beast there, and Serral's like, all right, if you want to play this game, I'll gladly play it along with you. I like having a forward expand.
This is my roach base, he says. Well, if you're watching this at home and you're a competitive player that might have to face against Serral, just know that Acid Plan is the roach map. As we go into our second map here, it's going to be 16-bit. Let's get these guys ready for the match. In the lower left-hand side, from Team Liquid, it's MaNa.
And on the right top side of 16-bit, we're looking at the main base of our WCS Leipzig champion. He wants to go back-to-back. It is Serral.
Roddy,
yes,
you're a fantastic Protoss player. This is a map we haven't seen as much. You're on here against Serral. Beyond the very obvious joke of, well, I'm dead anyways. Tell me what you do as a Protoss player with that extra base. What do you go into this with the mindset of?
Carriers.
All right. That could work.
No warp gates, straight into carriers, Jeff. +3 air weapons.
We haven't seen it.
No.
Not yet. It is a little bit crazy.
I know that I think one of our Protosses did it in the group stage against TLO and he was successful with it. No warp gate.
Final insult to injury for TLO out there.
Hey, he did made it to the playoffs.
And he made it out, right?
He did great. He got his revenge, but I don't know. Obviously, this is a map where you could say like, oh, it's great for warp prisms. Yes, it is, but most maps are pretty good for warp prisms. Let's be honest, guys. Like with that pickup range, a map has to be very weird if it's not good for a warp
Trying to
prism.
think of a bad warp prism map. I don't think there is one.
Yeah, exactly.
This has got like passive missile turrets or something like that. I don't know. So we'll see which direction they take it. We're going to see the forward base taken by Serral there, and that's kind of the normal move. The back base is the much more easily defended one. So you kind of get your creep started, take the harder one at the earlier stage of the game where it's less likely to be in danger. A couple lings coming out from Serral, and just keep your eye on the lings from Serral. He's just so amazing about continuously getting that information. And that's why maybe carriers would be a cool move here, but at the same time, with Serral, you just hit that wall of like, he's gonna know. Yep. He's gonna scout it. You can't stop it.
Even if you go 1 gauge fast expand here and Stargate and everything looks normal and then you go up to 3 bases, the moment that Serral knows that you're trying to do something as cheeky as rushing into carriers, he's gonna be like, all right.
Nice as it is.
Enjoy my Hydra push, and he's gonna have a few more Hydras than you normally expect. But we'll see. I mean, you have to play a little crazy. That first game, like you said, it really wasn't a bad effort at all by MaNa. I think he played pretty good, but he was just so freaking far behind after the Roach attack. That's one mistake, but that's one mistake too many against someone as good as Serral.
Yep. And I like this change of pace here for MaNa. He's going to get the Stalker first, so just pick off the Overlord. And if you look on this half of the map, by the way, that's one thing that Serral does. He's not willing to send several Overlords over there and kind of keep an eye. He's going to just send the one.
He does get Overlord speed very quickly. Maybe a little bit worried about that this main base is very big and it's very easy to hide things on this map. And I want to see what's going on. So eventually that Overlord that we do see on the south side of this map should be able to get a good idea of what's going on. I'm sure he will not be surprised by the Stargate and he will get Spore Crawlers even if he doesn't see anything. Yep. It's mostly like, what are you doing behind that? So MaNa's,
double gas.
And that's quite early.
Quite early with the Stargate, but then there's the Robo. Never mind.
What if it's a total fake out, Jeff?
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing about Speed Overlord, though, right? Like, you're going to see everything.
Yep.
You can't stop that, and that's why it's actually one of the best upgrades, in my opinion, in the game. Not every Zerg does this, but when you get Speed, even with the Stalker, you can't stop it. It sees absolutely everything.
Roach Warren already being thrown down by Serral. He spots the robotics facility, he spots the Twilight Council as well. Sport Crawl is a little bit late. I don't know how high the Queen count is everywhere.
Perfect, Rowdy.
Yes.
Always perfect.
Well, if he goes straight to main, is it though, Jeff?
Is it though?
Is it though?
He's going to show up here.
No, he's going to get a couple.
Get a couple. Just a cheeky couple of drones.
Just a couple.
Signature MaNa, little miss micro there. Just a little bit, but 2 is okay.
Maybe a little bit of nerves as well, right? A couple of these finals jitters. It's like, I would like to get an extra drone, but what if I lose my Oracle here? That would be a terrible way to start game number 2. Now,
I feel like ironically, you have more nerves if you win that first game too, which I think is kind of funny, but usually true.
Especially if you maybe a big underdog, which obviously MaNa already said in his interviews he is as well, and everyone sees it like that. If you're winning the first game, you're like, oh my goodness, am I gonna do this? You're gonna have start conversations with yourself. It's like, I wonder what everyone will think about me if I take out Serral, and then you blink twice and you're down 4-1.
It's actually true. It can happen that way. So there's that third Nexus. This is the harder one to hold later, but I do like what we see from MaNa. He's actually just gonna go for that kind of standard War Prism, and I want to throw it to you, Roddy, because you were saying, and they were saying at the table too, like if you just kind of do the basic stuff, do you really have a hope of beating Serral? Can it work out that way?
Maybe, I don't know, it's a tough question. On the one hand, you don't want to do too many silly builds, right? Because then if you make a silly build and you lose, you're like, damn, I actually kind of like this map. Why did I go for that build? Maybe on your worst map, I agree with you, throw a curveball, do something weird. But there's a good chance that MaNa looks at this base, this map, and is like, I actually don't hate it that much. Let me just play normal one more time. I feel I got unlucky on Acid Plant. And if it's a disaster again, well, then let's bring out the big book of Protoss cheese and let's get a little funky.
I agree with you, and that is one of the eternally difficult questions of StarCraft, is making that choice. Even this is scouted immediately, by the way. And we've seen this timing attack out from MaNa in the past, and it's a really cool one. But one of the uniquely difficult things about Serral is he kind of adapts and evolves as the series goes. So if you do the same build multiple times, he gets better about it inside the series.
This is a little bit scary though. Charge is not totally done yet. A couple of Hydras are out, but you know how it goes. If Charge does finish up, Zealots get on top of it. Serral is not actually very worried about this at all. He's like, no, you know what? Those Zealots don't have Charge yet. Let's just take this fight.
Yeah.
And he's going to try to focus on that Prism as well. Obviously, that's not...
Oh, it's brilliant. You can't warp in units if you're being chased by the entire Zerg army, right?
Serral has been producing a lot of units on a relatively low economy. It's really important for MaNa that he doesn't end up losing his Archons here. Losing the Zealots is very acceptable. Don't lose the Archons, but Serral is going to go back into droning at this point. He's like, you know, I'm fine. I don't have to worry too much about this Prism.
And whose money is it that slips in that time, by the way? It's going to be MaNa every time, right? Like, look, you can just kind of see it for yourselves at home, guys. I'm not just blowing smoke. But in that time, Serral managed himself very well, and it's MaNa that kind of slips. So we're going to have to see if more of that's coming out. And here is the Speed Overseer, by the way, scouting everything. That's the other benefit of that upgrade. Overseers have the NOS button. They just kind of fly right through the base like, I see everything.
With that Baneling Nest as well, that's kind of funny. So we're gonna go for some good old Hydra Bane with Storm on the way. Storm is obviously the upgrade you really do want to get here if you're MaNa. If you just sit on 3 bases for a little while, the scary thing is that eventually Serral's like, all right, that means 82 drones, and then I'm gonna take all the bases, and then every time you move out, I mean, even Baneling drops are very possible on a map like this, where you already have speed overlords. So,
one of the good things I will say here for MaNa, like that attack didn't do anything, and he did end up losing 4 Zealots for free, but in that time, he secured the 3rd. It hasn't been poked at all. And only now is Serral saturating that 4th base. Like, otherwise he's good. But 4 base to 3 is okay for MaNa. It's not like it's 5 base. He held off a big attack, and MaNa has no tech coming up. With Storm, a 2nd Robo, a healthy 3, MaNa's got the tools to make an army here.
Yeah. Some of the Zergs would get hyper-aggressive with Hydra Bane and try to just run into the Protoss. It seems like Serral's taking the opposite approach here. It's like, nah, this is a very large map. I think it would be very hard. I think it's smart that MaNa's going up to 4 bases relatively quick, because this is a long map, and if Serral does want to run into your Archons, Immortals, Shield Batteries, Storms, well, let him try it.
Yeah.
But Serral's actually tacking up already, so obviously MaNa going up to 4 bases as quick as he does is
really
the right call here.
And no Lurker Den, right? Did I miss that?
No, there's no Lurker Den yet.
No Lurker Den. So, like, this army is okay, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to defend until Broodlords come out, which is a pretty long period of time. So I really feel like that 4th base should be able to be established. And in that time, if MaNa can get the information that he's about to face Broodlords, it gets really good for him.
Yep. Obviously, you want to get a Fleet Beacon then. Tempest are fantastic against Broodlords, but
he sees the hive.
You can even go Carriers. He has an Observer there. But yeah, if you have your Observer in the main...
He has to think it's Broodlord, though, right? It's not, he's not worried about Ultra with this comp.
No, not with Double Robo. That would be shocking. I mean, you have to worry about the Vipers as well, though. Even just Hydra Bane, if they abduct a couple of your Archons. Of course, he does have High Templars, and he can always lend feedbacks. Now, Adrenal Glands being researched. The first Banelings are going to morph as well. As MaNa moves forward, and a little bit of an almost anti-timing, maybe trying to hit before Broodlords, but Serral has a strong economy.
There's got to be more than that.
And fighting on creep is very dangerous.
Where is the rest of his army? What am I looking at right now?
Maybe he's trying to pick up a couple of creep doors.
Where is the rest of this man's army? Okay. Whoa. It is an anti-push time. He goes out on the creep, but it's just he's flirting with so much danger. I got a little bit nervous there.
I wonder if he actually saw that the hive is done already.
Oh, don't lose the Oracle for free. Okay, get your army together. So he's poked the bear, right? Like Serral, I don't think was looking for a fight, but he might come up for one.
Couple of very juicy storms here by MaNa to start off this battle, and that should obviously give him a lot of courage here. Look at these Hydras; they've been taking a little bit of a beating. Still a few more storms available. This is actually going very good so far for our Protoss, Jeff.
Not bad. Good force fields here, going to zone off this army. Supplies closing in on each other. In fact, army is separated by just 1 supply.
Come on, MaNa, get a Fleet Beacon.
He's not seeing Corruptors come out just yet. There are some queued up here.
He's building 3 Immortals at a time, but he's going to go up against Broodlords, like you said.
He does have Blink finishing, though. That's a good sign here, right? Like, a lot of Protoss would kind of skip that. But with the Hive, he knows that it's a possibility he could face Broodlords.
How many High Templars do we currently have out on the map? 6, a couple of defenses, so he should still have a couple of storms to work with. I still find it very scary to step on creep. I think he has a Prism, maybe.
He's got Blink, okay. Does get away from that. Bane is going to shave off. They get caught going for the mineral line and actually hit the Nexus. A rare mistake there. So much time being bought by Serral, though, by the way. That's kind of what's happening
He's faking
here.
it, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I'm ready to attack any moment now with Hydra Bane.
Look out, here I come.
Yep, and actually it's just Broodlords, and Broodlords are gonna have a really good time against Archon Immortal. Now, you did mention Blink is done.
And
so,
a Warp Prism, 12 o'clock.
yeah, he's actually maxed out. He's gonna be annoying with Zealot, so MaNa is gonna strike back here for the first time on the top side.
Pushing
Moving
in.
forward as well. One of these Broodlords is gonna get sniped.
Broodlord's exposed. Storm's going to zone out that Zerg army. Another Broodlord trying to morph in here, but it's just simply not enough. The Observer does die in the background, but without Lurkers, I don't think that's a huge concern. He's got a good anchoring down here. A lot of the Storms are gone, but if he loses his army, that's really bad for Protoss. Now, some pretty good harass here up at 12 o'clock, but Serral is zoning in. He's coming in.
Well, MaNa has actually done a fantastic job. He picked up 4 Broodlords. Now, Serral is coming in from all angles, and I don't think there are too many Storms more available. But Archons and Immortals are very strong. A Guardian Shield still as well. That one Broodlord is putting in work, but his hatchery will go down.
No, it's just the last shot. It does die. And the harass gets cleaned up at 12 o'clock. Serral just barely ahead in supply. They're equal in workers. He's actually down 1 supply in army. This couldn't be more even. Now, with the Broodlords out there, ideally you want Stargate. You can't get it done with Stalkers.
That's a painful one. Oh my god,
Be
he had so
careful.
much energy on those 2 High Templars as well. They were maxed out on energy, by the way, so you could have had double Storm on both of them.
All right.
That's a nice pickup. Small mistake there by Serral as well. Morphing those Broods a little too exposed. One of them got picked up before it was done. The other one died because it was too far forward. Archons are not supposed to be the counter to Broodlords, guys.
And
But
he
MaNa-
gave up that territory, too. He backed out of there to give them the Broodlords in that space. Now, MaNa's pushing towards his 5th base here as well. If he's allowed to get that, he'll be on equal-ish bases, but actually really scary, Roddy, expanding towards the Zerg. They're neighbors now.
Yep, and that's obviously nice if you play Broodlords. Now, this is a very large map, so that means that that Warp Prism on the top side of the map could potentially be devastating. If MaNa keeps this strong economy that he has, if you start warping in 10 Zealots at a time, every time Serral wants to attack you, you're gonna need a wall of Spine Crawlers there if you're Serral. The only thing I'm so shocked is that MaNa really wants to win this game with Immortal Archon, and he knows Broodlords are out, but he's like, nope, Storm, Immortal Archon, Blink Stalker. Now, is it possible?
And it's the right call.
Absolutely. Wouldn't you like to see a fleet beacon?
No, I don't disagree with you there. I'm just saying there's not that many Broodlords. So actually, if he does spend money going towards Stargate and Tempest, maybe that's what cuts into his army.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, as you say that, though, if it gets up to like 10 Broodlords, I don't care if you have Blink Stalkers, you're not going to win that fight.
4 more are morphing as Serral is dancing. He's playing a risky game there. He's going to try to counterattack. I like how MaNa left camp with plenty of units behind. That's a nice Storm as well to keep that Immortal safe. This attack does absolutely nothing for Serral other than a couple of Zealots. MaNa wants to move forward. We've got Infestus out as well, though. Forward Blink. He's going to try to pick off a couple of these Broodlords. He gets the first one. The other one is very low on HP as well.
And now this base is under harassment as well. MaNa pushing forward. He has another Blink. The Zerg army's just not here. Fungal's not a good answer for this. Infestator's going down, but that too is just not going to be enough. MaNa pushing forward. He's up 70 supply. GG's called and Serral taps out. We're all tied up for this best of 7.
MaNa takes game number 2 here on 16-bit. Did not want to transition, kept the momentum of his economy, kept the momentum of all those gates. And he's like, I know I did a lot of economic damage. I can get the job done here with Stalkers, with Archons, with Immortals. Jeff, what are we watching?
I mean, he's kind of famous for his stairs, and I got to tell you, he did not blink in that game. To your point, if he starts freaking out about Broodlords and starts changing up his tech, he doesn't have the beefy army right there to jump on Serral. Serral had the right idea, counter-attacking, trying to keep the Protoss back. If he builds that Broodlord army up, if those Infestors get that energy, the analysis of Stalkers are okay goes down the garbage chute. It becomes the worst thing you've ever seen. They're fungled, they're held in position, they blink forward to a bunch of Hydras, they just die. But in this scenario, MaNa made the right choices, and it was Serral who was making mistakes because of those right choices.
I think what MaNa did very well in this game is that he didn't throw away too many units. It wasn't just like wave after wave of Zealots that were not achieving anything. It seemed like he was very careful. He's like, no, I just want to get my army supply up. And eventually when he moved out, he already did serious damage. He got the hatchery, he got those Broodlords, and he defended that first Hydra Bane push, you know, with flying colors. It almost seemed that Serral overstepped his boundaries there a little bit because he was stacking up, he was getting ready for Broodlords, and I don't think he ever truly wanted to commit, but he ate a couple of very big storms. All his Banelings disappeared, and then suddenly that army that looked quite scary of the Zerg wasn't that scary anymore at all.
Now, Roddy, as we enter into game number 3, MaNa has gotten to these pretty okay positions in both these games off the back of the similar composition, the same kind of idea that Warp Prism and Archons. And Serral has typically gone in the direction of punishing it harder and harder, but he lost this last game. So it's now going to be the question of can he adapt again? And that's going to be what we see in this game number 3. Please, Austin, Texas, get excited for this Protoss player. Give it us a show on the right-hand side. It is MaNa!
And on the left top side of Dreamcatcher, we're looking at the main base of our PvZ, dropping only his second map of this tournament. Will he bounce back strong? Make some noise for Serral.
Serral in those semifinals, dropping a game to Lambo, and then not looking back. Everything after that was a pretty clean destruction from Mr. Serral. Now against MaNa, he has been wounded. How will he respond?
I know you're a numbers man, Jeff.
Yes, of course.
You crunch them all the time.
Yep.
And I think back of last year, of course, last year was the year of Neeb when it came to the WCS events. I think he had a lot of strong performances. Of course, Jan chopping, where he defeated Serral in the final. He was fantastic at I'm not thinking Montreal, I'm thinking the other one that he won, which was Austin, of course. He was great in Austin, but Montreal, I think, was the crowning achievement of Neeb. He was dominant, he looked untouchable. He went 17-2 in that entire event. And I was wondering if Serral could somehow beat that record, because we all felt that was an unreal performance by Neeb.
Yeah.
At this point, Serral has also dropped 2 maps, so the best thing he could do is tie that performance. But MaNa is a man on fire. MaNa is carrying an insane amount of momentum. It truly came out of nowhere. I cannot emphasize this enough. If I would have told you in the beginning of this weekend that MaNa was going to be in the grand final and he was going to be tied up with Serral, you would have told me that something was terribly wrong with me, Jeff. That I was dreaming again.
It's just amazing. It's amazing, and this is the kind of WCS stuff that I want to see. I want to see people say, I'm in the system, I can do this. If I put in the hard work, I could be in those finals. I could beat some of these players that nobody thinks can be beaten. And MaNa's done it again. And he's even fighting back here as well. Like we talk about Serral in such ways that I'm sure people would think is just silly. But I mean, when you watch Serral play all these tournaments, you see his development over the last couple of years, you realize it's just kind of the reality of things. But yet, MaNa's here, putting up a fight. And I love the way we all talk about him too. We're all like, he's kind of a dirty player. Like, he's kind of, it gets sloppy, things die.
But he says that about his own gameplay as well, and he embraces it. But that's also because he's a hectic player. He likes to make multiple attacks at once.
Yeah.
And that is why sometimes at home, it looks like he's messing up a little bit, because he's just doing so much on the other side of the map.
Enforce those errors. I mean, we saw a lot of counterattacks from Serral in that last game, and those counterattacks are the reason why Serral's here. He's just so good about that. But and that was the kind of cool thing about MaNa too. He constantly had an Immortal or 2 there, a couple of Zealots, a Templar. So his counterattacks became the undoing of Serral. He was losing units as opposed to killing and not trading accordingly. And it's MaNa who knows Serral's playstyle and is dressing accordingly, so to speak. There's that double gas. He should do the same thing again, right?
Yep, but he might also kill this Overlord and then cancel them and warp in 8 gateways.
Wouldn't that be cheeky?
Yep. Cancel!
Wouldn't that be
I think
cheeky?
every Protoss always thinks about it for a split second.
Oh yeah. Well,
Should I?
I wish I thought about it only for a split second.
Hey.
Actually, it's the second Stargate.
Yep, so we're gonna see things go a little different here for MaNa, as he's gonna produce a few more Phoenixes. We've seen this gameplay become more and more popular again recently. Now Serral is getting multiple sport crawlers already.
Yeah.
Now the big question is Serral gonna respond with roaches like he did in game number 1? The second game he also had a roach warm, but he didn't really make any. He went straight into Hydras. Now obviously, what you don't want to face when you open up double Stargate is a player that just doesn't make any roaches, goes straight into Hydras with a lot of drones. That's where it becomes hard for your Phoenixes to find a lot of economic damage.
And we'll have to see here, because as you said, the game plan so far for Serral has been to go into that roach stage. So it's MaNa here that's going to break the pace and try to capitalize on that.
But in the previous games, he already had a roach one at this point.
Okay.
Like, I have the feeling
you just know?
Yeah, he's Serral. He feels these things. Straight Hydra then,
Just
why not?
senses it.
Yep. He's like, I know pros players have been doing this lately. I hope you enjoy it when your 5 Phoenixes run into 9 Hydras.
Must be good to be king. Because this is like comically the opposite of when I play StarCraft. I'm like, you know what? pull a cheeky second Stargate. 30 Hydra show up.
It almost seems like Serral just wants to get super aggressive with Hydra Link. These aren't even like, I'm gonna make a couple Hydras defensively if your Prism shows up. These Links spot these 3 Phoenixes, and I think that Serral's already putting all the pieces together. These 2 Adepts may actually get quite annoying. Killing drones right now is very successful because Serral doesn't have a fantastic economy. So even when you lose 4 drones, that hurts so much more than it normally does. Maybe the Phoenixes can find a small opening, a free Overlord.
Yep, gets the Queen there, and he's trading out nicely with the Lings as well from that position. Hydra's about to pop. Does he stick around?
If you pick them up 1 by 1, that's actually fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But,
or even by 3.
Yeah.
Sees the Hydra, knows what he's facing, gets another Queen over here. There's no Hydras here.
That's very nice. Oh, and
That's
he's
nice.
forced to pull away from those extractors as well, so not mining gas for a split second. One of the Phoenixes is taking quite a bit of damage. It's very important for Serral that he doesn't try to attack these Phoenixes with like 3 Hydras, because they will get picked off immediately. Look at these Phoenixes doing some work, Jeff. I'm getting a little excited over here.
A little reminiscent of some other good Protosses I know.
Yeah, the best.
And on the back end of this, by the way, the 3rd is being secured. I mean, when you're harassing Serral like this...
Oh, this is what you want if you're MaNa. He's finding a couple of Hydras. Yes, he lost a Phoenix, but these are some fantastic trades. Second Phoenix goes down, but look at the resources lost at this point. Losing these Hydras is very expensive.
Was after the Queens too? I mean, their DPS is not that much, but does he have enough pickups? I don't think so.
That was not the best decision there in
That's
the
what
end.
you get with MaNa, though. We're like, great move, but also kind of a bad one. All right. Double Forge off the back of this for the upgrades. There's the Twilight Council. Still making the Phoenix and Roddy as a very committed patron to your channel on Twitch. I do know that you talk about this. You could trade out Phoenix. If you're trading out Phoenix for big clumps of Hydras, a couple of Queens, some drones, that's good for the Protoss.
That's why I would have liked it if he would have just saved the energy before and he would have gone only for Hydras. As long as you keep that Hydra count low. He finds a few more though, and he once again doesn't end up losing a Phoenix. Imagine this game where he wouldn't have gone for those Queens and have 2 more Phoenixes. It's a disaster for Serral at that point.
These Adepts show up and there's not a whole lot. He gets 2, okay, never mind. Is it though? Not very good. But he's seeing that there's not a huge swath of Hydras. He's got to know that he's safe and secure behind this. Grabs a Queen.
Grabs another Queen. These Phoenixes still doing some very serious work. A few more Overlords. A couple of those other Overlords are bruised up. But MaNa doesn't want to lose any of his Phoenixes. He's getting double Robo behind this. 1 Phoenix. Second Phoenix does get sniped.
It's still okay though. Like obviously that's you'd like to just not lose any, but there it is. Look at the resources lost. Almost double for our Zerg player.
Triple Robo, Jeff. He goes into triple Robo behind this.
I crunched the numbers.
Yes.
1 more than 2 is better. It's a lot. It's a lot more. Now that's kind of investment though, right? If you're facing Ling, Hydra, Baneling, it's not like, you know, Immortals are good there, but it's not like that is the hard counter. If all of a sudden Roaches were coming out, MaNa would be some kind of weird soothsaying genius. But as it is, it's like, that could kind of work. It's not bad. But you take 1 bad fight and you die.
Few more Hydras found by themselves once again. This is fantastic for these Phoenixes. No, that's not a fight you want to take, MaNa. A few too many, a few too many.
He's a bit of a wild horse, isn't he? He's just like, you know what? Those 2!
I want it all.
Yeah, it's just... But he's getting away with it. There's a lot of red health Phoenix, but he's only kind of losing 1 or 2 each time.
But that's risky though, because now in the numbers everything looks fine, and then the moment that Serral gets a bunch of Hydras and Banelings together, runs to the other side of the map, those Phoenixes are gonna disappear.
This is a 4th base. Double Forge upgrades are finishing because he has been picking up Hydras. They're even-ish in supplies. Serral's army's not that scary. I'm beginning to believe.
The only thing I don't like is that there is no Storm or Colossus or Disruptus. Because it doesn't matter how many...
Is that all you don't like?
Yeah, no, there's no real splash damage. Like, I love my Phoenixes, but if the Hydra count gets that high, these Phoenixes at one point, they're going to melt, and you really need some sort of splash damage against a group of Hydras that's like bigger than 15. And obviously, Serral is heading towards that. But I don't think Serral is dreaming of a scenario where there is still no Storm on the way. There are no Colossus or Disruptors, so Serral is not likely to attack right now.
And Serral's just going up to that Spire again with the Hive, so maybe Broodlords, but there's already 2 Stargates down, so we're a Fleet Beacon away from a very good answer for that as well. MaNa taking the 4th base pretty safely. I think there's a warp into units at the 12 o'clock area. Nope, this is just the Phoenix. I did see a pylon somewhere over there. Yeah.
Left bottom.
Left bottom, okay. I do have to say, someone after this series grab MaNa and remind him Dark Templar exists. Please.
I mean, there's 20 Banelings morphing at once. Does Serral have Baneling speed? Can we confirm that real quick? Yes, he does. This is not a mover. I mean, he might just get a cancel. Those are some decent force field.
Oh, yeah, you got to plug that hole. And he's got to back out, right? You can't think that he can fight that.
He can just get the hatchery and then get the hell out of there because you don't have a War Prism with you. So fantastic force fields, good move out in the end, a risky one.
And now he's Storm.
Yeah, but that was very successful. He got the hatchery and he didn't overcommit, and that is very, very important.
Now, seeing that army, does he think that there's a hive tech and some stuff behind that, or does he look at that and say, I've just done such a great job harassing?
Not exactly sure. He's trying to find some more damage with these Phoenixes, but he knows that the window of the Phoenixes is kind of come and gone. This game, though, Jeff, I really feel that MaNa has all the time in the world to get that Fleet Beacon. Maybe he's not a Fleet Beacon player, right? Some Protosses are just like, no, I don't like games with Tempest or Carriers. It's too slow paced for me. I like my gateway units. I like my non-stop aggression. And we know that MaNa likes that. But I have the feeling that in this game, if he would get an answer to the Broodlords, he can't lose this game. The only way he can lose is against Broodlords if he doesn't have enough anti-air.
I'm just really wondering what MaNa's thinking, because he sees this army and it just never looks that sizable. He's got it tagged over there, and it's just like it's 6 Banelings and some Hydras or whatever. It's just not much. Phoenix spot this. They're going to pick up a big chunk of it. And at what point does MaNa say, well, I'm going to go after you. I got to kill you now, right?
I think this is pretty much the moment. He's got Storm, War Prism. I think that's the indicator.
Blink started.
Yeah. I don't think he can hit a pre-Broodlord timing anymore, though, especially now because Serral is such a fantastic player and always pretending like he wants to attack you. You're like, should I defend? And actually, Serral's like, please don't defend me because I want to get my Broodlords out.
Nice little move there. War Prism going to move out to harass. I'm beginning to get concerned for MaNa's army, though. It's becoming further and further away from a good answer for Broodlords. Now, in the previous game, the most he ever faced was like 3. We just had 6 finish up, 7, excuse me.
Massive.
So that is a scary number of Broodlords. You cannot fight that without the perfect engagement.
He's got a lot of minerals in the bank. You don't want to lose that Prism that easily, MaNa. That's kind of a shame, though, because he could have done so much more with this Prism while he's moving out with his army. But like you said, it's too late, right? Like there's 7, 8 Broodlords. I mean, I've seen a remarkable Protoss fight once upon a time on Daybreak, where you stormed all the Broodlords, all the Archons, but those fights...
that fight too.
Those fights are not likely, Jeff, and they're not supposed to happen.
Gets the hatchery, but that might cost him the game. That Broodlord's shooting over those force fields. They don't care. He can recall back from here, I guess.
Yeah.
Blink is not even close to being finished. I mean, it's close-ish, but it's not going to finish in this fight. And MaNa might have just been a little bit too passive. Now, 12 o'clock's open up here a little bit as a wave of, I believe, Zealots are making their way.
A couple Spine Crawlers are going to buy a tiny bit of time there for Serral. I'm sure that Serral is maybe a tiny bit worried as well. Look, Serral's getting a lot of extra Spore Crawlers. I feel that Serral's like, I don't want to move out with my Broodlords because you probably have Tempest at home or something. He hasn't seen that yet. And now obviously we know that Serral is very comfortable in splitting a map, taking a fight with infested Terrans as we have Banelings rolling in.
Nicely defended.
I feel Serral is preparing for a phase in the game that is not happening yet.
Right. I still even that being true, I like that he's starting to add these defenses. He's kind of anchoring himself on 5 bases, and the Broodlords, again, we know there's no Tempest coming.
Forward blink, one of the Broodlords did get picked off. The Phoenixes are just disappearing. That's a juicy storm in the middle of those Hydras.
He can't. He's going to blink up there. I didn't think he would do it, but he did. He dodges a couple of those fungals. The Broodlords are going to kite backwards. The Hydras and Broodlords relatively low in health. And Serral still can lose this. He could throw the army. There's another big blink, but it doesn't quite get there. And now the Broodlings are going to work with the Hydra Concave.
A couple of Zealots are trying to be annoying on the right top side of this map, but the Spines once again doing a good job in that hatchery, MaNa!
Oh, no.
A single Stalker would have been able to finish off that hatch. There's no more High Templars in his army, by the way, so that means that it's even going to be hard to take out all these Hydras.
And Serral chases it a little bit too far, perhaps. Got to be careful. Broodlord's coming in. There's the blink forward again, and that might cost him the life of every single Stalker. They're trying to focus down the Broodlords, but it's just not going to do it. The Archons now getting depleted as well.
And he does get the hatchery there in the end, so that is nice. At least he's going to slow down the economy of Serral. I mean, MaNa is very rich compared to Serral.
He just can't get under the Broodlords, though. He's been so aggressive with these blinks.
Never say never.
Where is the army?
What would Patience do?
Well, he'd aggressively blink forward, of course. There it is. He jumps on top of it. He gets a couple of the Broodlords. There's only 4 left. Storm's going down, coating everything. The front lines are in shambles. 40, the supply advance for MaNa. Is he actually doing this? He kills the base. The Immortals top 40 actually won that game? Are you kidding me? MaNa makes it 2-1.
MaNa takes the 2-1 lead against the overwhelming favorite.
Wow.
that everyone is expecting to win this tournament, and he does it in his own way. He doesn't make the usual transitions.
Roddy.
He sits on that bank and he's like, nope, gateway units are pretty good.
He didn't do just one, he did like 4 aggressive blinks forward. And I've seen this before when you do that. Everyone's supposed to die, but he kept dodging the fungals, he kept falling back. He'd aggressively blink forward, but then kite backwards. And every time Serral would pounce on it, he'd take storms in the teeth or get hit by the Immortals. It's like a strangely, stupidly beautiful thing. It was like, it's supposed to be bad, but it looked really good.
We shouldn't forget that obviously MaNa had a fantastic start. Those Phoenixes did some serious work. He picked off queen after queen, a whole bunch of Hydras. There was no way Serral was able to get aggressive with it. Lost a bunch of drones, overlords, and that set MaNa up in a fantastic economic position. He was maxed out almost. He had 2,000 minerals in the bank, while Serral was at 165 supply and scraping all his pennies together.
Well, that's the part that was almost heartbreaking, is MaNa did such a good job putting himself in a position where I was like, well, Serral can't win. But then he just kind of defended a little bit too much, maybe. And all of a sudden, the Brewler count got to a point where we've just all seen it before. You can't stop that. But MaNa is crafting these battles in ways, and he's just executing so well. Even the 3 Templar that he pulled, those weren't fresh warp-ins. They came in from bases back beyond, and they had 2 storms each, and they were just able to just turn the tide of that fight, immediately cleaning up the broodlings, killing the soft hydras. And as you pointed out, because of the bank and because bases were going down around this, Serral couldn't replenish.
Nope. And Serral was investing quite a bit in the static defenses already, in spines, in spores, especially some of those spores. They really didn't contribute anything because there were no carriers on the way, there were no Tempests on the way. Well, Jeff, we're not there just yet, but this man is giving us one hell of a show so far. He's got all the momentum in the world, representing Team Liquid. Guys, make some noise for MaNa.
And this guy in the lower left-hand side for the first time, maybe ever, has finding himself trailing. It's the red Zerg from Finland, Serral! I can't even get the words out, Roddy. This one is zapping me. I am alive. This is good StarCraft.
He was trailing.
Great match.
He was trailing in the semifinals, though, Jeff. An hour ago.
You know what? Let's forget about... That was a whole hour ago, man.
Did he know ever? Well, an hour ago, but besides that, it almost never happened.
Outside of that hour, it's months.
All right, so MaNa is going to scout. What a performance this man is putting up. And
he looks calm.
Yeah.
He's not wringing his hands. There's no sweat. He looks almost nonplussed is what I would use to describe. He's just like, well, here I am.
It does really feel like his 2015 run that he had back then in that magical weekend in Krakow.
In front of the Polish crowd. Yeah. A beautiful event.
It was one of the best I think we've ever had. And even though he didn't get the job done there in the end, he put up one hell of a show. And I think he gave all of us a weekend we will never forget as StarCraft fans. And I cannot emphasize enough on how much this came out of nowhere. Of course, we knew that MaNa was good. But in all honesty, when I saw he was traveling to Austin, I was like, man, I hope he makes it to like the round of 16 once. Like, he really needs that, right? That would be an awesome performance.
Yep.
Now he's here in the finals, 2-1 up over Serral, the man that's 19-1 this year against Protoss. And the only Protoss he lost against was Classic, and he put Classic in his place a few weeks later after that as well.
For 20,000 bucks.
Yep.
No big deal. And I like what Robbie said, I believe it was at the desk as well, and that's that MaNa got here not with some like incredibly immaculate run, like in a weekend, by the way.
It's bumping and bruising.
3 0s and 3 1s. He actually dropped a couple series, had a couple of close calls, kind of bumbling and fumbling his way here. But then all of a sudden he's just like, yeah, I put in a lot of work. I guess I'm really good. It's awesome. And it couldn't happen to a better guy, by the way. MaNa is one of the true, just great people of the StarCraft 2 scene and always has been.
Yep, and one of the OGs, I mean, that you were in the final 8 years ago. I mean, just let's think, what is Nama doing right now? Like you know, when MaNa and Nama went up against each other in the final in 2010, now you look at 8 years later, MaNa's in the final again.
So long. I mean, 8 years ago, Artosis was 53 years old. It's like just night and day. Completely different time. But here we are. Now, a little bit of a different opening for MaNa. There's going to be a second gateway part of the wall, and there is that Phoenix in, well, cancel it, in Oracle. And we've seen we've seen a couple different openings for MaNa. This last one was the double Stargate, and it worked really well, Roddy. It's an opening you do quite a bit or something similar to it. It went well, I suppose.
I don't think it could have gone any better. I think there was one tiny mistake where he went for the queens when he didn't have to. He ended up losing 2 Phoenixes, but Besides that, he prioritized all the right targets, and he did a fantastic job in picking off those Hydras one by one. And Serral didn't even open up with 7 roaches that were useless or something. Like, Serral on paper had a pretty good build against it. MaNa just found the openings and had fantastic execution, like he's been doing the build for years.
And I will say, to be slightly critical of Serral, he was the one that was kind of throwing chunks of 4 or 5 Hydras into it and giving him those Hydras. It's something that almost all Zergs do, and I think it's because they don't face Hydras that much, and the temptation of just killing is just too much there. But when you go in like that, you lose big chunks of army. Now, I'm going to break away from that because there is that second Stargate in additional Phoenix coming out.
Yeah, let's see. I'm pretty sure that Serral learns from his mistakes very, very quickly. It worked out in a fantastic way on Dreamcatcher. Well, there is a Roach one. That's good news for MaNa. That's good news for our Protoss. Even if he doesn't make any Roaches, I mean, well, what's going to happen? He's going to make a bunch of Roaches, run to the other side of the map, and win? No,
Seen it before, man.
Yes.
I lived through the Mondragon era. It has happened.
Mondragon versus Xerax on Crevasse.
Oh, jeez.
My goodness.
Okay, well, that Oracle dies cheaply, gets a little bit of information. Did it see the Roach Horn? Or is anything it tagged seeing the Roach Horn? Yep. Well, there you go. Thank you, Queens. Don't care. Just waddling off. But there's the lair.
Few more spores. Serral is scouting. Can he get some links into the main base? Seems like the answer is no for now. A couple Roaches being produced. I mean, that is good news. Now, it could get scary if Serral indeed does produce, you know, 1,000,000 Roaches. Phoenix is obviously not very good against Roaches, but what you can do is you can make the Desperation Void Ray. Stuff like that can really help
7
out.
Roaches.
And you can even stay on 2 bases. You can throw down a fort. You can get a couple of cannons. That's a lot of Roaches so far, Jeff.
This is good for the Protoss. And I mean, in MaNa, this is kind of what he does, by the way. He handles these attacks. He's got a couple of gateways. I think just the 2 for right now.
It is really good that Serral goes back to droning, because 10 Roaches is not enough to achieve anything, but it's also enough to really hurt your own economy. So this is actually perfect for MaNa. MaNa is going to be so happy when he sees...
Plus 1 air attack.
Oh, a man to my heart, Jeff.
Is that all it took? You're like, you know what? I'm a fan. And these Roaches, like you said, he is actually making lings behind this.
He had me at +1 air weapons.
Serral's leaning into this, Roddy, and I don't know that he's going to get a return. He's losing a lot of Roaches mid-map. Those lings are not drones. He's only on 3 bases, not pushing towards a 4th yet.
I think Serral is reading this game like pretty damn wrong. And he's like, oh man, at this moment he's like, oh my goodness, are you kidding me? Like, it feels like almost everything is going wrong for him. This is not the build he wants to go up against. He's going to try to do a little bit of economic damage. If Lynx get in the main, that would be very bad, because MaNa obviously has a lot of Phoenixes, and guess what's very bad against Phoenix or against Zerglings? It's Phoenix. So
well, here's desperation time.
Don't let those Lynx enter your main base. MaNa has one job right now. He really needs to keep those Lynx away from his main and his natural.
But the Lings are in. They have come in. They're inside the natural now, going after these probes. Just the Phoenix there. And we thought he read it wrong, but Serral sees signs on the wall. He's going to run inside the main. Now 10 probes already dead. He dislodges the main base as well. Phoenix fairly low in energy. They still do have some pickups, but you don't really want to be picking up these Zerglings. And look at the mini-map. It's a ant simulator. There's just more coming across. They're going to target the Nexus.
Well, and Zealots, slow Zealots are so sad against Lynx. More Lynx.
Third too.
Oh my goodness. Serral had a disastrous start on paper, but he made all the right calls and he found that opening. He got the Zerglings where he wanted them, and he's dealing a tremendous amount of economic damage at this point. Once the floodgates are open, Jeff, there is no stopping.
Well, it's not fun. Now it is going to be drones behind this. If he gets his 3rd Nexus, that could be curtains. There's nothing here to stop it. It is a dead 3rd Nexus.
That is a magical turnaround of this game, because it looks very, very grim on paper. If MaNa would have just been able to secure these 2 bases.
Oh my God.
The floodgates are open.
It's not even floodgates. It's just we're below the ocean now. We're at the bottom. And you are just gulping the water. Yep, for sure. And that's it. Main base dead. GG. MaNa taps out, and we are tied up here. 2 apiece in this best of 7.
Serral dodged the bullet there, Jeff. He really did, because if that doesn't happen, if he doesn't get those Lynx in those 2 bases, he is in a terrible situation. Those Roaches are useless. The Lynx, what are they going to do? Run into a wall over and over again. The Phoenixes would have ran all over that game, but Serral wouldn't be Serral if he didn't find a way to turn it around.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that means we're going to go to game number 5 here, and these players are going to need a minute to catch their breath. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have that next game ready to go for you guys.
Today, legacy. The ultimate real-time strategy game is now free to play. It's about time. StarCraft 2. Get it now.
And we are back. 2 apiece. MaNa, Serral. We're in Austin, Texas, and we are wrapping up WCS Austin with a doozy of a match. There's only, at most, 3 more games to go, and I want all 3. This has been so good, Roddy.
I want 4, Jeff. Give me a tie. Give me a tie.
Yeah. You know what? You got it. There's going to be a tie.
Yes?
No, I don't think so.
Promise me.
They're super rare, but it'd be pretty amazing, especially in a ZVP. That's kind of a weird scenario.
Yeah,
right?
I had one leather account with like 8,000 games and 1 tie.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's good for you.
I know.
All right, well, we are in the game. Hopefully you guys stretched it out, got some hydration going on, because we are in this game. On the lower right-hand side on Catalyst from Team Liquid, it's your Polish Protoss, MaNa!
He cannon rushed before on this map, but I don't think that's something you want to do 2 times in a row. Perhaps especially not against this man, spawning on the left top side. He is your reigning WCS champion. Guys, make some noise for your Zerg. It's Serral.
Serral grabbing for himself a bit of a cheap win there. We were kind of shouting down, be like, no, this can't work. But Serral willed it to happen. He's able to bust in there. Roddy called it the floodgates, but if you watch the replay of that, if those are flood, I mean, there weren't even any gates. It was just a flood. It was just a outpouring of water. But here we are. And MaNa still stays calm, by the way. He doesn't look rattled. It's okay. You got that one on me. Let's go into game number 5.
It's really hard to shake off a game like that, though, because I think that MaNa was probably feeling really good about that game. He sees 10 roaches, he has his phoenixes out, he's like, oh my goodness, and you're making a bunch of links as well. If he can just get 2 batteries up, you keep that zealot in charge, you get a sentry going. Even if he wipes in a forge and you get a cannon and a battery there, as long as that zealot is standing strong, even worst case scenario, you could say, let's say he loses his third base, right? And then he loses the battery and the pylons there. If he just keeps making phoenixes, he's gonna do so much damage on the other side of the map that it would still be good for him. There's just one doom scenario, and that is links into your main, into your natural, because you saw those phoenixes above the links. It was the saddest thing ever, Jeff. Can't help, boys. They're looking down, they're like, we're so sorry.
It looks real bad down there. Things are not going well. I will say, though, that's one of the, again, I have so much respect for these high-level StarCraft 2 players, because everything you just said, I fully agree, but man, on that stage, in that moment, you've got about a half a second to decide, I'm gonna sack my third and play with my air advantage, and it is such a hard call to make, because if there's drones behind that, it's not a huge investment from Serral, and you just give up the third cheaply, well, you just lost the game. But if it is as much of a force as we saw, that's the only choice you can make. And that's why StarCraft players make such great poker players and just generally humans.
Except for me.
Yeah, bad poker player, great human. Fair enough.
I can get behind it. All right, Serral's going up to 3 bases. Once again, a Stargate opening, of course, on the south side of the map for our Polish Protoss. If you guys haven't been watching StarCraft in a while, you wonder, why do they always open up with the Stargate in this matchup? It's just that certain Zerg builds, early aggression, like whether it's a couple of roaches that run to the other side of the map, or link floods, they are a little bit tougher to deal with ever since we lost that mothership core. Shield batteries are great to buy time, but it's very nice to have something in the air that cannot get taken down by just Zerglings or roaches. So it's just a very safe and standard opening. It gives you some map presence, and you just kind of take the game from there.
And there is going to be that Oracle. And I feel kind of weird even saying this. I think he won't do a double Stargate, but I almost kind of think he should. Because in both games, in one, he gets a dominant start. In the other game, he triggers a reaction from Serral that I think MaNa, if allowed to replay, could defend.
It's not that strong on a smaller map like Catalyst, though.
And maybe that's why it is that strong, though, right?
I mean, if Serral does make 10 roaches again, then obviously, Jeff, you're onto something. But I like that MaNa is switching it up here on this map. He goes for the robotics facility. He is taking his additional gases again, though, so this may be very similar to what we saw in some of the earlier games, what he wanted to do on Acid Plant, and what he actually successfully did on
the other one.
16-bit.
There you go. Well done. You're the guy with the memory. I'm just the guy with the jokes. So. You're on your own there. We know that.
And I'm really good at laughing at them.
No, that's why you're here. Oracle going to scat out. Doesn't see any saturation there, but that's not the weirdest of things. We can see that just now it's getting a big chunk of drones and more coming out behind this. You do want to watch for MaNa to be very vigilant about getting the information, though, because we have seen Serral change up things, right? It's been a Roach War in a few games, and there it is, as I say that. Or it's straight to Hydra. You're going to want to know this. And MaNa is going to go up to this is his cookie cutter build. He's going to drop a couple of Archons, have the potential to add Zealots to it, not necessarily always do that, and allow for that distraction to get him the strong third base.
Something we see every now and then on this map is that double prism opening, right? You get the Archons in the main, and then you get another prism on the right side, and suddenly it's Zealots all over the place. But since there's an Observer on the way as well, I'm not really expecting anything like that. MaNa decides to not be hyper-aggressive in this game. Of course, he will, try to find an opening with those Archons, try to do a little bit of damage, but this screams macro so far from our Polish Protoss. He's up to 47 probes. He is getting a couple of additional gates, but above all, this more seems like testing out the water and keeping Serral very honest while making a couple of roaches, I want to say. But that's 11 roaches very quickly. It's the same number of drones on Acid Plant.
All right. And you do want the roaches, by the way, as a response to this. You don't have to go to 50 or something like that, but a good grip of 10 chasing this down is pretty okay.
Yeah, it's way more than 10 though, Jeff. It is just like Acid Plant so far. Now he's going to go back to droning a little bit, but that's 47 army supply pure roads. Now, unless Serral was reading this as potentially my opponent is going to wipe in like 84 Zealots.
It's fire.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
And that's different. We've seen him go Spire, but only in conjunction with the Hive. This is the first time it's been
A Muta Spire.
potentially a Muta Spire, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it would be very weird if it's otherwise. And it doesn't have to be mass Mutalisk, of course. Could just be a couple of Mutas to harass mineral lines, pick up a couple of probes, take care of a Warp
Shut down
Prism
the
as
Warp
well.
Prism, yep. Okay, well, let's see if it does go that far. Now, one of the kind of concerns here is worker count. Serral's only a little bit ahead, by the way.
If
He's still adding more.
If MaNa spots the spire, that would be awesome. But that's a tough spire to spot, man. It's all the way in the back of that main base. And that's not an area where you come very often with your Archons and your Warp Prism.
And he does not throw hallucinations. If you notice his kind of scouting patterns, he relies on the Oracles, the Phoenix, and he'll actually even throw an Observer in the base, but it's not to like check the whole base, it's just to see what's coming out of it.
Now, what could give MaNa some information is that he texts the army. He's like, okay, it's still just roaches. I don't see Hydralisk. Yeah, it's not too many. I don't see Hydralisk. I don't see Banelings. You gotta be up to something eventually.
It's about to be 9 or 10 mutas to start with, by the way. It's quite a few.
Something that some pros players do every now and then. If he gets a cancel on this fourth base with just a couple of Zealots, when they think there's a very good chance he will, this is a close call, Jeff. Serral wants to keep this hatch alive.
I mean, even at this point, he's gonna let it finish, but it's got like 10 health. So to be continued. Part 2 of that is coming, I promise. And the Archons didn't get much done, and they actually didn't scout out that much either. What they really kind of did is fought back the creep, which is okay, but especially on a small map, that okay is pretty nice. But that is me turning a frown upside down. They didn't do much else.
This is tough, though. I mean, it's 11.
Is he investing in an attack out here?
Deal's Archons have no HP, and that's pretty much the only anti-air that he has. I really don't think he can fight 12 Mutalisks straight up, even though he's going to try. Maybe if Serral sends everything to the main.
Behind it.
Yeah. I have a bad feeling about this for MaNa. He's going to end up losing one Archon immediately. He does save the second one, but he doesn't have enough anti-air there, Jeff.
And that army has no teeth. And inside the main base, the mutas are going to show up for the first time in this series. MaNa can at best warp in some stalkers, but out in the middle of the map, he wanted to be the aggressor. He doesn't have it. He's just kind of waffling out there. This has really caught him off guard. He's going to fight, but there's so many roaches that if that fight turns south, by the way, it's just done. No. And this base actually won't get sniped by those zealots. And the mutas have moved on to the natural.
I think that was the entire point of him moving up. He wanted to show his army. He just wanted to pick up that base on the right top side, but he doesn't get it. And instead, he ends up taking a lot of economic damage. GG. Serral on championship point once again.
And I'll tell you what, MaNa was giving him his best. It was back and forth. The series is so close, but it felt like about 10 minutes have passed, and Serral has gotten 2 pretty cheap wins for himself. The other one, just by sheer will, busting in there. This one, pulling out the Mutalisk for the first time.
Yep.
And it can do that. MaNa has shown what he will do. He's kind of remained a little bit repetitive. And it has just been sentries and a couple of Archons as the anti-air. And he's been going charge first.
And if you just go double robo all the time, double robo obviously is a very passive build, or even a triple robo that we saw before. Yeah. That is something that needs time. You're gonna sit back, and if you don't spam Zealots everywhere, if you are not super crazy about harassing and throwing away units, we applauded him for that on 16-bit, because it really worked out for him. He didn't sacrifice those units, but because he wasn't very aggressive this game, he just never really had any vision of what was truly happening. Yeah, he tagged roaches, and maybe he felt, I got a little bit unlucky with my revelations there. I'm sure there is more somewhere out there. Maybe he's positioning units at home, but Serral was saving up resources for those Mutalisk, and if the first time you see Mutas, they're in your main base, something went terribly wrong.
Well, and it is about to go really wrong, I guess. Serral looking a little bit more calm. He's at match point, ladies and gentlemen. If he wins another map from these final potentially 2, he will be your WCS Austin champion, and that'll make him a 2-time WCS champion this year. Of two attempts, by the way. It's pretty amazing. MaNa, still looking calm, had some good ideas there, but this is the demon that's in his head now, is he has to say to himself, well, that's my cookie cutter. That's kind of what I do. And Serral's the one that's changing it up around that and finding success. What does MaNa do? He's got to break the mold, or does he just kind of remain with what he's got?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's really hard to shake off that game number 4. You know, wins and losses, they happen, and especially in best of 7s. But a game where everything looks so good on paper and you really feel, everything you see is like, oh my goodness, I'm up 2-1 in this series, and this is going fantastic, and then you lose it?
Yep.
That's really hard to shake off. But let's see if this man can get it together. He needs to win this map to keep his dreams alive. This is Liquid's MaNa.
Great science, great audience. Thank you guys for being here. And his opponent in the top left-hand side, the Dark Lord himself, Serral.
You caught him off guard there, Jeff.
That's what I do. Catch people off guard.
So MaNa is going to be fortunate here because this is a 4-player map, the only 4-player map we currently have in our map pool. And it's very nice when you send out your first probe and you see your opponent's main base immediately. Now, it is unfortunate for MaNa that he couldn't block the hatchery the way he did against Snoot, but that's still nice. That's a little bit of momentum that you want because you don't want to scout your opponent last on a 4-player map because that's when you start getting paranoid.
Some little bit of luck here. Awesome audience out there. While we have this moment, I just again want to thank our observers in Sano and Mapu, our partners at DreamHack, this awesome Austin audience. Ooh, that got a little bit complicated, a little bit more than I wanted. Putting together this great event. We've had a lot of 3-0s, a lot of 3-1s, but if it gives us this fantastic final match, I'm going to say it, Roddy, it was worth it.
And that semi-final, I mean, between Special and MaNa
Pretty good.
was fantastic. Well, okay. Fantastic is always a big word to use, but that game on
phenomenal.
That game on 16-bit between those two was definitely awesome to watch. And it's not over yet. Let's hope that MaNa can get some more magic going for himself. Now,
this is Game 7. Are you kidding? Do we deserve that, Roddy?
I don't know if we do.
I don't know if we do either.
But do we want it?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Now, this Overlord, so the other side of this coin is the Overlord did go in the right direction to start this game off as well, and it's going to get pretty good scout. The kind of down-ish side of that is you're not going to see much. It'd be kind of crazy if MaNa was doing something different at this stage of the game. I don't even know what that would be. It's like, he's not expanding, it's a 4-gate. I mean, I guess you could, but that would be, geez Louise, can you imagine?
No, I don't want to imagine.
That's some White Raw stuff right there.
It would be terrible.
MC, actually.
Now, it's going to be a StarGate once again. What I do think is funny is that obviously this is not a super popular map, right? Of the 7 maps that we have this season, I would say that this is the least or second least picked map in general. Redshift and this one seem kind of to be the dark horses of this current map pool.
And those are the 2 final maps, by the way. It would be Redshift if we go to the last one.
Yeah, none of them picks it. And especially when it turns out like this, where you've got horizontal spawning positions, it just makes it a very weird map because do we treat it as a big map? Is it a small map? Is someone going to do something very weird and take a base at 6 o'clock, you know, in the middle of nowhere where no unit should ever come? When you spawn like this, it's just awkward. And I think it's kind of awkward for both players.
Yeah, and if you could think back to that Snoot versus MaNa match on this map where it was in similar positions to this, do you think it I mean, obviously Snoot lost the game, but did it really work against him? Is it favored to Protoss here, do you think? Or
with the way, Adapt gets, well, it's still not a bad trade, right? You force a couple of Spore Crawlers, you get 2 drone kills. I don't know if this necessarily favors Protoss, but the way that it started off definitely favored MaNa because MaNa got that hatch block and then Snoot gambled on where to expand, preferably not close to MaNa. Well, he did expand close to MaNa. This is a little bit more normal. You can see Serral, he's expanding away from MaNa. He's not taking the base on the right side of his main base, and he's probably never going to take it either. He would probably take his fort all the way down at 9 o'clock, or even 8 o'clock, I guess that is, because you don't want to expand too close towards the Protoss. So I don't know.
StarGate, by the way.
I don't hate it on this map.
Come on.
But I never hate it.
You don't like it? You just don't hate it? That's where you're at with this? I love it. I mean, yes, it's close spawns, and I understand that if it was cross, it'd be even better. But I just like what it's done to Serral. I think the most destabilized I've seen Serral, the most kind of like just straight up mistakes and kind of bad play, has been against this. And that's something. If you can get that out of Serral, that's going to give you a chance. And again, we go back to that cheap loss. Imagine MaNa winning that game, which a lot of players, I don't want to say a lot of players, kind of, it's wrong, but you could from that position.
No, absolutely. I think MaNa knows that as well. That's one of those games where if you resume it from replay and MaNa makes a tiny adjustment, I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 games he could very well win that game. I really think it was that good for him on paper. So let's see how it plays out this team. There is a roach warn, but I don't think Serral's just going to produce all those roaches. What's up with this probe?
He told it to move over there and not click on the minerals.
Let's see. It's getting blocked by his own adept.
When Wallens are too good, right? Come on. He's like, let me buy. What is the Zealot saying right now? Or the Adept? It's like, no. Okay, fine.
I mean, this is actually a little bit of a late third base now for MaNa. It's 5 minutes and 20 seconds. He's going to knock down this debris. That's going to make it a little bit easier for him. 6 roaches, 10 roaches at this point.
What he does?
Weapon attacks is quick. Okay, he keeps it alive. That's very important. Serral actually...
Or does he? Serral's like, gotcha. That's what I do.
And that's rough.
Now, to your point, more roaches coming out. Roach speed, +1 range attack. This kind of seems like this is what he does against double Stargate. Can MaNa make the adjustments?
It's a lot of roaches this time, though. I mean, it's already 43 supply. Now, roach, okay, he does go back to drone. Oh, no. What? He takes it towards Serral? Okay.
And now spotted by the Oracle. Phoenix are going to get over here and start working on this.
I hope. Well, I mean, maybe he feels like he doesn't need it, but the roach count is going to be quite high. Obviously, the Phoenix numbers are high already. These are a couple of nice free pickups. Serral is not very high in the drone department, right? It's 56 drones. That's decent.
It's about 4 less than what he was at.
Now he's making Zerglings again. Now, have we learned from our mistakes? There is a shield battery being wiped in, and it's not in the natural.
2 gateways. I mean, he's got to hold this. If he holds this, he can win the game. We can go to game 7. He sees the roaches still walking out. He has to know, right?
Deja vu of lost and found. A couple of Zetas gonna get picked off. MaNa, please get like a single shield battery here. You know, the funny thing is that if he gets a single pylon on the right side of his gateway there in his natural, that is a full wall off, by the way, right there indeed. He does have to probe. He's playing a very risky game. He's gonna try to pick Serral goals for the
Oracle
Nexus.
can kill Zerglings for days.
Yeah. I actually think MaNa's okay with this. Like, yes, please try to kill this Nexus with
This is just a
everything you have.
cancel even. It's gonna cost him the army.
Yep, this is a trade that even
if he gets it.
I think he will get it, yeah. I mean, that's a cancel, but this is a very, very expensive cancel for Serral. Serral knows it, so he's going to try to get into the natural once again. This time there is a backup Zealot as well. The Adept is starting to take some damage.
Well, that pylon might be too far back, or is that a
No, I think it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. These Zealots, even if the Zerglings will not get in.
And now a Hydra Den, drone's coming out, so that's kind of the white flag of the Zerg. He's going to back up.
This is where I would like to see MaNa make even more Phoenixes, because there's no Hydras at all, so you never want to run out of energy. Just keep picking them up. Now, Serral does have a lot of Spore Crawlers. Obviously, this is not a disastrous scenario for Serral, because he did cancel that third base.
Yeah.
Imagine if MaNa would have taken that base below his main, by the way. I'm not even sure if Serral gets that cancel. So MaNa's going to start trying to do some work with these Phoenixes, and he needs to do a lot of work, but the potential is there.
Feel a little bit worried, though. He's adding a Robo. He's got charge and +1 attack behind this, as well as 4 gateways. And still, just now, the third Nexus is going to go there.
Single Zealot, no shield battery. But there are Oracles. Triple Oracle Lurker then already on the way for Serral. Serral's going to surround this Nexus. Can the Oracle save this Nexus? A lot of DPS from these Pulsar Beams. The Zealots are going to do their best as well. Serral will...
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, that's
he
really
waited
bad
till the
news.
last second, by the way. I just had to stare. I was like, Kevin, you're on your own casting this. I don't know.
This is... Now it's starting to get really bad for MaNa, though, because now it's 8 minutes into the game. He still doesn't have 3 bases up and running. And
Lurker against Phoenix, though?
What?
Lurker against Phoenix?
I think it's fine, because the thing is, the Phoenix count is high, but it's not ultra high. At this point, Serral bought so much time for himself that I think that MaNa's going to have a tough time finding Hydras on their own. He's going to find 5 of them here, but there's plenty of Hydras coming in from all angles. Got to keep those Phoenixes alive, and he ends up losing one of them. I'm afraid that Serral's economy is just overwhelming at this point, Jeff.
Yep, he's got 71 workers, and he's pushing up to that 4th base, with this 3rd being delayed so much for MaNa. Army-wise behind this, we've got Double Forge again. Temple Archives did finish, so it's going to be kind of like an Archon, Charge Lot, Phoenix composition, which can work with that, but he's one swath of units away from never being able to get back into it. You can only produce so much off a 2 base.
It works if you're even on economies, right? Or even maybe slightly up, then you can absolutely swarm that Zerg army. But going up against Lurkers, when you're down a base, when you're down 16 workers, nice little wall off there by Serral as well. And going into Storm, I mean, Storm is always good, but I don't really like Storm after Phoenixes, because those units don't sync that well together. Phoenixes need to kind of be close to the enemy, Storm needs to land on top of the enemy, and above all, it's Lurkers. The Lurkers are pretty tanky units. Things look quite grim for MaNa.
3 Robos as well. I just don't know if he'll have the time for that. 10 Lurkers, and everything that Serral has is pushing forward. He wants to just dominate WCS this season and take both the first 2 stops. MaNa has put up a fight, and he's in his way, but these close spawns might be working against our Protoss player right now.
And if you see this many Lurkers in this phase again, how many Hydras are? Well, 13 Hydras. The Phoenix count is just not high enough. If he had a few more, he could potentially lift all the Hydras, and then you can start lifting the Lurkers as well. Now that would be a very risky move, as Serral is closing in with his Lurkers, and the army of MaNa just doesn't seem ready to battle yet.
And the Lurkers are here. We talked about this. When the army's right here like this, it's so hard to dislodge.
I would actually say go right now. Lift as many Lurkers as you can and go, MaNa. Don't, okay, that's very annoying. Just close your eyes and try to pick off all those Lurkers. I think this is his moment. Lift as many as you can.
He jumps on top of the Storm, trying to hit the Hydras. He picks up a lot of the Lurkers. Army supply is in favor of Serral. The fight has turned a little bit in favor of Protoss player. He's going to route this army back, but the creep is just right here. Can the Phoenix give pursuit and pick up enough? A lot of Hydras are going up. They don't have the DPS to deal with chasing them. Inside the main, the Zerglings did a lot of damage. 16 probes have died, but can he snowball here?
Well, if it wasn't for those links, that would have been an absolute disaster for Serral. Serral lost a lot. His army was big, but he didn't have everything there.
Still?
And that's why those lurkers were so exposed that Prism is going to go for that offensive warping. Prism
Targets the Prism! No reinforcements go down. The Queens come over here to anchor it, and all of a sudden, MaNa is pushed back. Workers still plummeting. 29 have died. The Phoenix have fallen below critical mass, and Serral pushes forward the aggression, defends the counterattack, and once again off the back of his brilliant Zerglings busting in there, he might have found himself a championship.
I think the Lynx just won Serral indeed the game. And sniping that Prism as well, it really felt that was MaNa's last-ditch effort. He had a scary army there, and Serral didn't have all that much. A lot of it was in production, but it wasn't there yet. But Serral saw that Prism, capitalized on it, took it down, and now MaNa's like, all right, now what? I'm down 30 workers. All I have is Zealots and Archons and just 4 Phoenixes.
This could be it. He's going to push forward to Serral. He's got a couple of these lurkers here. Huge number of Hydra and Lings. What can MaNa do? He's got one chance. He's going to try to put up a fight here. Doesn't even have the detection, actually. His Oracle did die in that fight, so there's just nothing to see these lurkers. But MaNa's going to make a fight of it. He jumps on top of this, but Serral says, not today. He's going to kite backwards. The Zealots are gone. The Archons are gone, and we've got a champion of WCS Austin. It's Serral. Surprise, surprise. The best player wins it again.
Serral goes back-to-back in the WCS Circuit in 2018. But he had to fight for it, Jeff. It wasn't an easy final at all, but in the end, he does what we all expected him to do, and that is really damn hard. Congratulations to this fantastic Zerg player.
Amazing StarCraft all weekend long. This guy has put in the work. He's done it in Europe. He's done it here. Do it in Korea too. Someday, maybe, but we'll see him at BlizzCon as well. Serral has just gone monster mode the entire tournament. As you said, MaNa put up a great fight. But even in that, we can see Serral as such a good player, able to withstand the many different twists and turns and still find victory.
Fun finals where Serral showed us multiple different openings as well, showed us some different play styles. I loved it, Jeff.
Well, we're going to have to hear from Serral after winning his second WCS stop. He's on the stage right now with Smix.
Thank you very much, guys. Serral, you told me that you wanted that trophy. Well, now this trophy is yours. What is it like to be not only a back-to-back WCS champion, but the undisputed best player outside of Korea?
It feels great, obviously, but yeah, I know what else to say. I think it feels great, and it's not really an unreal feeling, but it still feels super great.
Now, in this series, you were up against MaNa, and he definitely put up the hardest fight out of all the other opponents he had here in Austin. We knew that he was showing a new and improved version of himself. What was it like for yourself going up against him?
I think it was very hard for me, at least after the second and third game. I felt like I played fine. Like the Dreamcatcher, I lost a bit too many Hydras to the Phoenixes, but Otro was playing fine. But I think I learned a lot from those games, and if he would have went into late game again or the longer games, I think I would have known how to beat him. But luckily I managed to take him down a bit earlier.
And now by taking him down, you are a back-to-back WCS champion. 2017 was all about knee, but 2018 is looking like the era of Serral. So moving forward, there are 2 more WCS stops. Do you think you can do the all sweep?
Extremely unlikely, but I'll try.
I appreciate the honesty. Now, Serral, one last thing. You were the champion in January, so you know what's coming up next. It is time for the infamous champagne ceremony. Austin, we need to help him out here. As he prepares to open this bottle, I need you guys to chant his name with me. So first, let's get this bottle out here. Thank you very much, Mark. I'm gonna move over here to stay safe. Now, on the count of 3, I want everyone to chant Serral. 1, 2, 3. Serral! 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 Give it up for your 2018
An amazing finish to the tournament here in Austin as Serral claims his second WCS Circuit title of 2018, emulating the success of Neeb last year. How much further can this young star go? Only time will tell. This is the World Championship Series. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a hell of a ride, and man, MaNa put up a hell of a fight to finish things off. Fear Dragon, Pig. That final, I think, a bit more competitive than we were expecting.
Holy cow, MaNa played out of his mind. He may have gotten second place, and you know what? I think he's going to still be happy. He went from 30 WCS points to 1,430 WCS points. He showed some fantastic games. He still walks away with $10,000 in USD. MaNa just played awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he just defied all expectations today. We kept underestimating him. MaNa once again has proven that he is just a player with class. You know, he comes through, he finds a way no matter what the odds. No one else managed to bring the fight to Serral this hard. A lot of people out there were doubting MaNa. They said, you know, it's going to be a 0-4, but he really did bring the fight. He brought out that crazy style. I don't know what we're going to call that, like Stampede Protoss, where he's just got like 3 Robos, double forges. He was just rolling through Broodlord armies. It's cool to see someone in such a high-pressure situation bring out something brand new.
And yet, the coolest thing yet is that Serral still found eventually the answer to that, going for those big roach attacks. I mean, he eventually was able to adapt during that best of 7, and that's why Serral is so scary in a best of 7. If this was a best of 5 or something, you think, oh man, the series could have ended before he had time to adapt, but Serral is so good when he has the games to work with.
He really brought it today in this grand final. And of course, that means for our circuit events that Serral has picked up W number 2. We were having this discussion at this same time last year. Serral now your WCS Leipzig and Austin champion, securing himself you can't go to BlizzCon twice as yourself.
Does he get an extra life, Nate? Is that how it works?
If only. Now that the point standings themselves have not been updated, but what this means is those WCS standings, there is now an extra spot you will be able to qualify for the global playoffs through by having those points. So one more player will be given an opportunity where they won't have to win a championship to get in. Very important to keep in mind. And well, maybe a few more players will get those spots if Serral keeps winning this much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what's so cool, right? Last year, we saw Neeb establish himself as this absolute champion 3 times. Serral, he's on the way to doing it again. And there's something a lot of people complained about for many years was, you know, where were the champions that stayed at the top for an extended period? You know, Neeb did it last year. Serral is really starting to look like he's just going to be that monster who hangs around for years to come as someone who is just constantly, not just in the top 8 or the top 4, but actually winning tournaments consistently. And I love that because it creates such a sort of backstory, a kind of legend around this player, and it becomes such a battle every time someone goes up against him. For me, that is the most exciting thing about this game because we see history developing before our eyes.
Any final thoughts, Fear Dragon?
I mean, Serral feels inhuman. He feels like he already has been building that legacy that Pig was talking about. And honestly, I almost feel like at this point, the question is not just, is Serral going to be able to win 2 events? Is he going to be able to win 3 events? He may even be on a path to win all 4 WCS events this year, but I don't want to speak too soon. We still got, of course, Valencia coming up.
In his own words, highly unlikely. Yeah, but it would still be pretty awesome. So thank you all very much for tuning in over the course of this week. And I want to give a big thanks to you guys joining me on the desk, the rest of the casters, and our awesome production team here helping to make the World Championship Series possible. And thank you for tuning in one more time. We'll see you next month in Valencia for our 3rd WCS Circuit event. This has been the World Championship Series. We'll see you next time.